Very interesting because if you look at their history, as you also rightly said, it's a checkered history. They've had coup in that particular island nation. But in 2013, these two leading candidates now, they were banned from contesting the election. I think the country succumbed to international pressure such that there won't be that kind of violence that they had previously. But now that they're in this one, even though the leading candidate seems to be fine with it, even though initially had complained, but the Reverend Malonana, who is 68 years old, I think, and so he thinks that his supporters should stand against this election. But interestingly also, the current president was seeking a second term, so he's third. How then do you think that they were able to organize themselves such that you didn't see any of this violence?
I did not see violence, but it could be the lull before a storm. Because like you correctly analyze the situation in that country, there could be a throwback to the past when things got so nasty that the African Union and other agencies had to put hard iron on the people to shape up or ship out. And I think that must have created the quiescent atmosphere that we noticed. But I don't know very much about Madagascar. I can't really say whether or not all hell will break loose if a favored candidate lost in the elections. But what I saw was an acceptance with equanimity of whatever happened. We were told then that there was a runoff to be organized for December 19th. We did not go back for monitoring of the runoff. But I would think by and large the Madagascans will live with whatever result transpired. The president of the commission assured us, the electoral observers, that due process was to be followed in terms of the law and the constitution. It must have, I suspect he's a lawyer, but he gave us the impression that they had taken care of all exigencies and that there was no cause for alarm.
The police beat, what you said, yes, they were there. It was more or less a fanfare, so they were going about the election peacefully. They didn't interfere as such. But back here, we'll have a challenge. There's this back and forth as to the role security or policemen can play or should play in our elections. Should they be at a distance? Should they be where the ballot is? It's consistently going back and forth. How do you think our policemen should conduct themselves?
Well, it's an old issue. I was in Calabar about 3 weeks ago for what they call a political summit at the Dome. And the contenders all came, and the commissioner of police or his representative said the job of the police is to follow the ballot papers wherever they go, even if it's to the sea. I think we have a problem here. And the problem really is that we don't have many confirmed Democrats. We are trying to have democracy without Democrats. There is no agreement on the ground rules, what is expected. And everybody seems to write his own guidelines as we go on, because the struggle for political power in our own circumstance is a fight to finish. It's a do or die thing, either their way or the highway. So that is why I'm not too happy with the confused situation we have in terms of security forces. There was a time in this country where the military wanted to play a role to oversee, monitor, and superintend the electoral process. Some of us then cried havoc that the military belonged in the barracks. But they said that they wanted to maintain law and order. My problem with the security forces is that their action could be counterproductive. It could be a scenario where the medicine is worse than the disease. Because when you have so many policemen with AK-47s and whatever, you begin to wonder, this is barrel of the gun democracy. It should be a day of freedom, and happiness for the electorate. You can't force feed the population. Because, look, Nigerians have been voting since 1922. We are not novices in the electoral democracy. We were not born yesterday. We have a history. I agree the military truncated our political experience for more than 30 years. And so old habits die. They still believe that they have a superintending role. And the same goes to the paramilitary forces. I'm not too sure. If you leave people to decide, although if you look at the history of Nigeria, ballot box snatching, skullduggery, all manner of shenanigans that we have seen in this country are enough to convince any observer of the necessity, as it were, to have a tough handle on what they call thugs, troublemakers, miscreants, whatever name you give it, those who don't wish what you can call the enemies of democracy. They are alive and well in Nigeria, and we can't give freedom of action to such elements. I think that is what accounts for the superimposed role of the police on the electoral process.
Okay, so Prof, what should we be doing now? I mean, we're just a few weeks away. What should we be doing? The electorate and the institutions of INEC and the political parties as we move towards 2019?
Well, if you are to believe the INEC chair, INEC is ready. And they've worked out solutions to problems that is envisaged will happen. So we give them the benefit of the doubt that they've made due preparations. On their own bit, they should minimize the incidence of late opening of polling stations, late delivery of electoral materials. Then I'm aware of electoral monitors. In fact, in Madagascar, all eyes were focused on me because they said your elections are of interest to the international community. African Union was represented, European community was represented, the CIS IMO, which I joined the other. So there was a loud international presence. I've always been against foreign observers. Who are they to teach us any lessons? We have the right to go to heaven the way they want. But the way things are, even this, especially the smaller parties, they have greatest confidence in the international observers. Look at what happened in Osun. Everybody is jumping on the coattails of foreign observers. Yeah. And you have ambassadors here giving us tutorials on how to handle things. And with glee, the TV houses will relate stories of this ambassador. It's none of their business. It's actually an affront on the sovereignty of Nigeria to go and ask an ambassador, what should we do? It's our own affair, okay? What and all. So
what do we do with the funding that they give to INEC for some of these elections?
Well, INEC is funded by international organizations too, European community. Then I believe the International Republican Institute, International Democratic Institute, they provide funding. Then for our own local monitors or observers, they have grants to assist them because of the compelling poverty that we have on our hands.
But collecting those funds, doesn't that give them room to monitor how you spend the funds?
I agree with you, but you see, when you are poor and you have no other sustenance, I remember it was the Turkish foreign minister during the Crimean War who said that a dying man will clutch at a serpent. So if you are drowning, the serpent is what you can lay your hands on. So be it. Just like Taisho Lani said, if the devil gives you a scholarship, take it. Okay, so in the Nigerian setting, poverty is an ailment.
Yeah, but Prof, you know, Nigeria is richer than Madagascar. But then their current president, 9% of the votes, they haven't disintegrated as a country. Do you think that the peace accord that is being signed by candidates here will have effects, and to what extent?
Well, I think all these peace accords, either in Abuja or in Bauchi and all these areas, they are good points on paper. The taste of the pudding is in the eating. If people really want to wreck the democratic process. Peace Corps or no peace Corps, their supporters will go on rampage. So I think it's in the heart, okay, the heart of the political contenders. As I said earlier, it seems we are trying to organize democracy without committed Democrats. And the person who accepts that the elections were free and fair and credible, transparent, and who is ready to congratulate the contenders and hope for another day. Democracy is about having a chance, like Marx pointed out, once every 4 or 5 years, to select your executioners. Because all these political parties, they are interested in power, okay? And whatever they can do to get power, they will do it. So that's why I'm not taken in by the euphoria over peace accords. I think we need political education, what you call conscientization. The general people of Nigeria should know what elections are about. A selection amongst, shall we say, competing thieves. Okay, so which thief is better than the other? That is what we're experiencing here. But in terms of observers, which I was talking about, many of the political actors in Nigeria, they give credence to observers, local and especially foreign. It's because of, again, underdevelopment in terms of consciousness, in terms of perception. Somebody was quoting a foreign ambassador a few days ago to say this, and if everything spoken on that program was premised on what this ambassador had said. I thought that was an insult on the rest of us.
A very fine place to live with, Professor Akin Oyebode, Professor of International Law. Thank you very much indeed for coming on this morning. Always good to see you. And again, Merry Christmas. Compliments of the season to you.
I wish you the same.
All right, Bob, just hang on a minute.